That is legal analyst Elton Hart. Elton, thank you very much for your time. That there were calls between Kelly Khumalo and accused 1, 3, and 5 proves what?
Now, obviously, if one looks at the links, now the cell phone information is important. One needs to establish, was there communications to show that she was somehow involved in the planning of the robbery or the planning and killing of Meyiwa, and to actually stage it as a botched robbery. And that was always my concern from the get-go, that why is the people that was in the house not people of interest to the investigation? So now what they're doing is to show that these accused persons had conversations with Meyiwa's ex-girlfriend or former girlfriend, Kelly Khumalo. Now, the only thing that the colonel needs to go further on is to do cell phone triangulation for me, to actually show the cell phones of the accused person that's currently in the box that's implicated in this connection or the links. It's 1, 3, and 5. That they were also on that day, on that fateful evening, they were in that vicinity of the Khumalo house. Then it will say, on the circumstances, it showed there was communication, and by cell phone triangulation at the time of the incident, you were in that vicinity, in close proximity of the house. Then we know we're tightening the net around them. But the mere fact that people have communication before, was they did not put their version to say that I know Kelly Khumalo, we had some casual interactions, because that can be a version that they put before this court to say that yes, we knew each other from our community, we had some informal. So it doesn't prove out and out that these guys were actually the perpetrators who led to the death of Meyiwa. It just shows there was communication between them and Kelly Khumalo, and we still need to see when they get to the stand to say and explain why there was communications. And obviously, if one look at accused number 1, these communications actually started only after the incident. So that can already say maybe he could have asked her, why are you guys blaming me? And also Zadile Khumalo's evidence now that she pointed out accused number 2 undoubtedly to say it was the man. And as we stand now, Colonel Steyn has not yet linked any of his details or numbers to any of the people in the house, Meyiwa, or any person of interest to this case.
So does that mean, because the state had made it known last week that they have no intention to call Kelly Khumalo to come to the stand, can that change drastically on the part of the state? Because the defense obviously can make an application to get her to come to the stand. But in light of what Colonel Steyn has said, is that now something that you are expecting to see?
For me, if the state is not going to use Kelly Khumalo, and I think they would be sort of shooting themselves in the foot if they want to still use her as a witness in their case to actually prove the involvement of any of the 5 accused that's currently in the dock. Because she might just help them and testify in such a way that they cannot be and explain away why is there connections between cell phone connection between them and her. Because she would not want to implicate her and maybe play her down and say, but we know each other. So that's why I think the state opted not to use her. And the only other way that the defense can use her is through the state to actually subpoena her to come and testify. So they would need the state's assistance to issue a subpoena for her to come and testify on behalf of the defense. But in her testifying, there lurks a danger in the background. She can implicate herself and open herself up for criminal prosecution. So I think it would be coming down to a point where the defense needs to subpoena her to come and appear. She would not come out of her own volition.
When you take a look at the 5 men that stand accused of this crime, how does it typically work? Could we see them then take to the witness box and give testimony, especially in light of what Colonel Steyn has said?
No, definitely. There is now sort of a prima facie case that with the cell phone links, obviously they're going to still test and try and explain it away, but you now need to put them in the box so that they can put a version before court as to why was there a communication between them and Kelly Khumalo prior to Senzo's death and also after Senzo's death, the ones that had communication. The one that had communication with Kelly Khumalo after Senzo's death, that may be a easier explanation compared to the ones that had communications before and after to show. But obviously, they're also looking and they're placing this identity in dispute. And the evidence that's currently before court is that of Ntabi Singh, Nkete, Zandile Khumalo, and Nkwache. And none of them can actually say that this is actually the real person. The only person that could say it's Zandile, she pointed out accused number 2. But there is no cell phone evidence that actually links him to Zandile Khumalo, Kelly Khumalo, any of the occupants of the house. So that makes it now that identity is still on a rocky patch, that the state did not out and out prove that this is the right person. The cell phone links, you can still explain it to say why was there communications because of previous dealings or knowing each other from the community. So it's not done and dusted for the state. They still have a tough battle ahead of them and a high mountain to climb to make sure that they box the evidence and get it so that the court can say there is no doubt. The only other thing that we can do is to actually convict these people on the evidence before us.
Just very quickly for us, I mean, yesterday we heard somebody's ID number partially read out in court, and because they're cameras, obviously, then we all caught wind of it. But what happened to Popia? How does it work?
No, that was not supposed to happen. In terms of Popia, that was not supposed to happen. And I think in the previous trial, if you can remember, the previous trial that was before Judge Maumela, it was made clear that we should not disclose personal information of any of the witnesses or the accused persons currently involved in this matter. And that is because their safety, there's a concern for their safety, and also to make sure that the media houses doesn't get wind of where and who they are, so that they cannot ask the witnesses to come and give sort of television interviews before they have testified. After they've testified, they can. And I think that was the reason why, because we know in South Africa, people are innovative. If they have your identity number, they can track your last 10 locations where you stayed, and then they can follow up and see exactly who you are. And I think the state is now keeping its cards very close to its chest. They don't want to see and make the people or the defense aware and the accused aware of what is their strategy on how they're presenting the evidence, because now they're taking a totally different way and route of how they're presenting the evidence.
Thank you very much, Elton Hart. He is a legal analyst. Thank you very much for your time. Do stay with us.